Hi, I'm Tanya, and today we are going to start with a standing roll down. So I'm going to stand to the side so you can see. We're going to start with our hips and our knees pointed straight ahead. Lengthen the spine. Think of lifting up through the crown of the head. And for the first part, I'm going to have you just soften and bend the knees a little bit because I'm going to have you tuck the tail between your legs. And then you're going to just drop your head down and let the weight of your head hanging forward begin to bring a stretch down the neck to the upper back, the upper traps. And then pull your stomach in slightly, and you're going to start to very slowly allow the spine to just round over. Arms are hanging down from the shoulders, not pressed back against the thighs. And the reason that I'm having you soften your knees and tuck your tail under slightly is because I don't want the pelvis to move as you round your back over. So keep pulling your abdominals in. The more rounded over you become, the more curled you become. I want you to make sure that you have those low abdominals turned on lightly, pressing back into the low back to support that low spine in this deep flexion. So many of the muscles of our back actually connect down here at our pelvis. So the reason that I don't want the pelvis to go with you when you tip over and that I'm having you tuck is because I want to get that stretch all the way deep down here where those muscles attach at the pelvis. So you're rounded over in a nice deep U shape. Low stomach is pulling in. And I want you to feel almost like taffy or caramel being just stretched out, smooth and easy. Every once in a while, you can gently shake your shoulders side to side or circle the arms lightly just to get a little bit more stretch coming down from the back where the arms connect into the back. Circle the other way. Now, once you feel like you've gotten as much stretch as those muscles that run up the back and connect down with the pelvis, as much stretch as they've got, then you will slowly start to straighten your legs and fold forward in a hinge here at the hip, not up at the waist, but here at the hip, so that your spine is just dangling like a rag doll. And now we're getting the stretch in our glutes, our hamstrings, and our calves. And now we're going to come down into a deep squat, trying to keep your heels down on the floor as you let your tail reach down. And then go ahead and rock yourself forward now to your knees. And you're going to press into the backs of your feet and the backs of your toes. So push back, stretching and opening up the bottom of the feet, the backs of the toes. And now we're going to go back for that deep Achilles tendon stretch, that fascia that runs under the feet and then comes up into the Achilles tendon. So try to press your heels down as you sink your tailbone down. And now we're going to lift back up into that hamstring glute stretch, just folding forward. And to roll up, you may soften your knees, and you want to use your hamstrings and your glutes to bring the pelvis back up. So we don't use our back here. This is really the backs of our legs and our glutes that rolls our pelvis back upright. And when our pelvis comes up, that brings our low back with it. And now I want you to feel like you're being lifted from the back of the neck, like a mama cat carrying her kittens, as you lift the mid-back, the upper back, and then finally the head rolls up, reaching up through the crown of the head. The shoulders are resting down. And we're nice and tall. Good. Okay, now come facing front, and we're going to go into a side stretch. So I want you to let that hip fall out and then back and to the other side. And up. Just starting to get into opening up the side of the body. One more time. And now I'm mirroring you. I'm going to be reaching my right arm up to the ceiling. I'm in a side stretch. And if you'd like, you can float the left arm up and down. This is adding a little bit more load here onto that side that is stretched, giving it a bit more tone. And up and down. And now the arm comes first, brings the body with it, and we'll go over to the other side. Hold there in that side stretch and float the right arm up and down. You want to make sure that you're not rotated. You're in a side stretch. Float up and down. And one more time. And let the arm come first. And now let's just do a few nice and flowing, side to side, letting the hip fall out. The arm is reaching long, stretching all the way from the foot, reaching into the floor, up to the fingertips. Come back to center. And now we're going to do what we call elbow curls. So the important thing about our positioning, if you can, if it's easy for you, you're going to make what we call a golfer's grip, which means my wrist is straight. I have my middle knuckle bent so that my pads of my fingertips are coming against the insides of my fingers. And then we're going to put that to our temples. Now, if that is hard to wrap your brain around, if it gets confusing, the main thing that we want is that the wrist is staying neutral as we move. So if you want to bring your fingertips here, that's fine as well. But what we don't want is to have the wrists get in all kinds of compromised positions while we're going. Okay? So just keep it simple. But if this is easy for you, you're going to point your thumbs down. Your wrists are staying in neutral position. And you're going to try to touch your elbows together and then squeeze your shoulder blades together without arching the back. So what we don't want is for the back to arch and then for the back to flex and to be moving back and forth this way. Okay. We want to just move from the shoulder joint in a hinging motion. And I'm keeping my wrists neutral. So really my hands, they could even just be floating by the side of my head. When you're standing, take note of your knees. A lot of times we will push into the backs of our knees and lock our knees out and tip our pelvis forward. So make sure that the knee joint is soft, the pelvis is sitting in neutral, and feel like your body weight is positioned so that your hips are sitting over your ankles. Spine is tall, and we're hinging the shoulder joint. Touching the elbows, and open, and touch, and open. Spreading the shoulder blades, squeezing them back together. Let's do about 3 more. 2. And our last one. And bring your arms down. Okay, now we're going to bring the arms out to the side. You can either keep your hands in that golfer's grip or you can extend your fingers out long. But I do want you to pull your thumb away from your fingers, and that helps to spread the bones in the forearm. Keep your shoulders pulled in towards the spine, but again, you don't want to flare the ribs open and overarch the back. Keep your knees soft, your pelvis in neutral, hip bones and knees are pointed straight ahead with your feet about 6 inches apart, and we're going to do arm circles. We're making diameters that are about 8 to 10 inches, keeping the shoulders down, the arms strong. There's a slight oscillation that happens in the body, and that's great because that turns on all of those core stabilization muscles that are trying to keep the spine and the pelvis stable while we're circling the arms. We're going to do around 40 of these. keeping the shoulders down, the neck long. And go ahead and bring that to a stop. And now turn the palms up, thumbs point back, and we're going to circle back in the direction of the thumbs. Circling back now. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 40. Bring that down. Nice. Okay. So now come down to a cross-legged seated position. And we're just going to get some flexion and extension in the spine. So interlace the fingers. Inhale as you bring it in. Exhale as you curl the spine and the pelvis and take it back. Inhale and exhale. And inhale. Exhale. When you bring it in, keep the shoulders down. The palms come down to about the solar plexus level. Exhale. And inhale. Exhale. And inhale. And exhale. Getting good pelvic tilt motion. So the pelvis is rocking forward and tipping back. This is great for opening up the hips and the low back. Then we're also getting spinal extension and spinal flexion, as well as continuing to work the arms and the shoulders. Last one, inhale and exhale. Okay, now come to a kneeling lunge position. So I'm going to mirror you and I'm going to bring my left leg forward. My right leg is back. And I'm going to bring by mirroring you, I'm going to bring my right arm beside my right knee. And you're going to come over into a side bend position. From here, we're going to rotate the rib cage and lower the fingertips to the floor. Come back to a side bend and rotate and open and rotate. This is wonderful for opening up the low back. We have so many layers of muscle and tendons and fascia and different types of tissue that crisscross each other and need to be able to have good slip and glide in between them in order to function properly. And a lot of times those can get sort of matted together. And so movements like this are great for promoting good movement in that area. Now on this last one, let's see if we can open up our chest up to the ceiling and bring it back down. One last time, rotate it and then bring it back to the side bend. Okay, and now let's switch sides. Mirroring you, bringing my right leg, your right leg forward. Your left leg is back. Your left hand will come down in line with your left knee, and you open into a side bend. And then rotate, lower the fingertips, and come back. And rotate, and back. And rotate, and back, and down, and open. And now let's open to the ceiling and bring it back, rotate, come back to our neutral position, bring that arm and leg back. And now let's end in a hero's pose. So sitting on your heels, and if that's uncomfortable for your knees or for your hips, you can put a blanket or a bolster or a yoga block in between your ankles and lift yourself up so that there's not quite so much flexion in the knees or the hips if you need to. But if you can, you're going to come down. The pelvis is tipped forward slightly so that you have your arch in your low back. The spine is tall with the shoulders open. And we're just going to rest the hands in the lap. This is a great position for allowing the diaphragm to move freely for breathing properly. When we breathe, so many of us, so much of the time, breathe with our top ribs and our shoulders, and we take our breath up through here. And these are not meant to be breathing muscles. Our breathing muscles are down in our full rib cage. Our diaphragm should drop down into the cavity of the belly, and that's what makes our belly rise, is that increased pressure of that diaphragm dropping down. And our whole rib cage should expand and contract with breathing, not moving up in here. So we want to just rest. Think of the spine lifting, the neck is long, and feel that whole rib cage expand and contract as we keep the spine long and the shoulders resting. And let's just take about 5 easy breaths together. You can close your eyes. Allow your body to take its full natural breath. Don't push anything. Don't try to keep up with anybody else's count. Just an easeful, relaxing, deep cleansing breath. And one last one. Thank you so much for joining us again today.